let's start this. Welcome to That Japanese Thing. This week we have Yesh back. Welcome back, Yesh.
Thank you.
Yesh is going to be a bit echoey because he's in a new house. Not too much we can do about that, I'm afraid. We've tried as best we can with software and whatnot. But please bear with us. And of course, as usual, we have Dylan. How you doing, guys?
Hi, I'm part of the furniture. A bench, you could say.
Yeah. You went to a strange martial arts display thing today. How'd that go?
Oh, this thing. Yeah, I went okay.
All right. Cool.
Mondai no.
Monday night. Glad no injuries were had, even though you went to the far west.
The far west.
Today we're talking about the tunnel to summer. The exit of goodbyes. That is the most Japanese translation of a name I've heard in a long time. It's basically how like anime used to be. Just like these weird non sequitur translations. You know, and nowadays we'll get like a snappy English title. That kind of makes sense. Not that this doesn't make sense. I mean, it's like a direct translation. Dylan was pointing out. Natsuye no Taru, Sayonara no Deguchi. It's exactly what it says, I guess. Yes, you recommend this. Why are we watching it?
Right, so there were 3 movies recently that had become popular amongst Western weeaboos, or people who enjoy anime. This is the second of them. We watched the previous one. I can't remember which it was in a previous episode. But all of us were a little bit more ambivalent about it. Bubble, if you'll remember.
Right.
This is the second of those 3. And I saw the rising tide of interest in it and hoped that it would be a little bit like the next set of anime movies that become popular for people to rent or watch on cable. And this one was actually, I feel, quite nice. So that's where it came from. There are 3 movies that are making their rounds amongst the bloggers and YouTubers who cover anime. So I wanted to get in, watch it, and see what we thought about it.
And this one clearly wasn't made by a committee, in the sense that it was based on some source material. And probably followed through with that source material. So it's based on a light novel, I guess. By Mei Hachimoku.
Okay. I wasn't familiar with the author.
I don't know. I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks for light novels lately, so I'm getting slowly more drawn into that space. Nothing good can come from that, but
no, nothing good at all.
No. Speaking of which, I have a little bit of a bone to pick with you for the Mushoku Tensei light novels.
We can talk about it after.
No. We talk about it quickly. Your description.
Okay.
No, Nish. We talk about this now.
It's like
You need
almost
to
a one-for-one
answer,
adaptation. There's barely any changes, man, for that show. I was expecting like
Between the anime and the light novel, you mean?
Yeah. I mean, maybe you get a lot more internal dialogue, but that's about it really. And there's here and there's a couple of scenes that have been cut.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I mostly said that they cut out the bits where he was being a pervert out.
I don't think
that's largely what has been.
I don't know if you watched the current season, but like it's.
No, I have. Yeah. He perved over his cousin a lot more in the beginning until the explosion happened. The teleport incident. Sorry, not explosion.
He did plenty of that in. I think the difference is like you hear his internal monologue, obviously, in the light novel. So you know what he's thinking when he's like making strange faces and things, right? So it seems worse, but as far as like adaptations go, it's very similar, I think.
I think the other problem I had was that we were in the depression arc in the light novel when the anime came out.
Right.
So I was already on the downhill of Mushoku Tensei. So to see the show come out was not going to be exciting for me because I know that it becomes Shield Hero soon. Not soon.
I don't know, I
Admittedly,
feel
it
that's
had a
unfair.
fairly long
I feel that's
arc of
unfair.
good.
It's definitely not Shield Hero. There's like some substance to it, even being a light novel series. Like it's actually quite well written. Anyway,
Oh, it's well written.
moving
I do
on,
agree. It's well
I
written.
guess. Let's talk about the topic. This is a shortish movie, hour and 20 minutes, thereabouts.
Hmm.
It is a time travel movie, which I love. I haven't watched a time travel movie in ages that I can remember, and that was really good.
A well done time travel movie.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure there's been some stuff. Mostly it's just been like
Well,
weird sci-fi things that have come out.
Regression isekai, which is just returning to your own world, but like in the past to fix your mistakes in your life,
Sure.
has become sort of a popular genre type thing
Yeah,
online.
although most of that happened like 10-ish years ago at this point, I think.
Well, if it's happening in the manga 10ish years ago, you know what that means for anime.
Oh, there were a few like animes that came out at that time, weren't they?
Mm.
I
Well, I'm
I
saying
know,
there's
like
there's
Real Life
another
isn't
wave.
exactly the same thing, but you know.
There's another wave of this stuff coming. Yeah, real life is much more emotional repair than time travel.
I know.
But yes, this one has time travel as a consequence, which is an interesting concept.
It's so. Have you heard the? Or have you read like the short story?
No, I haven't.
Sorry, not the short story. Like the what do you call it? Folk story.
Light novel?
That
Oh.
like that they refer to every now and then in the as the tunnel. They call it like the
Tunnel of Witches or something.
The undersea tunnel, right? Something like that.
Mm.
Maybe the translation. I can't remember the exact name, but it's based on the old myth of like a Japanese man who's a fisherman. He gets sent to the undersea palace of like the Umehime, the princess of the sea, and when he gets back, it's been 1,000 years, right? That's basically the starting point, cultural starting point of this story. But in this case, it's not an undersea palace. It's just a fissure in a rock that has a tunnel in it. That has a weird time dilation effect going on about it. Someone do a better job at explaining what this plot is. I'm failing here.
Sure. So basically, this is the story of two high schoolers. The one whom is a transfer student, that's a mysterious girl that recently joined our MC's class, that both have regrets in their life. And they discover a tunnel that offers a supernatural solution to their problems. When they first encounter it, our MC lead walks in and starts to discover that he can pick up the dropped sandal of his sister, who has been dead for some time.
Yeah.
We go on to find out that his sister died some time ago and his family blames him for that, and his entire family disintegrated from her death, effectively. And so our MC's motivation is to figure out how the tunnel works so that he can find the best way to recover his sister, which he believes the tunnel gives you what you want. So he tries to figure out how the tunnel works in order to recover his sister without throwing away his own life, technically. Later on in the movie, he gives up on that to a certain extent and is willing to accept that he might go in order to save his sister. Meanwhile, our female lead, Anzu, wants to recover a manga that she made when she was much younger. In her youth, her grandfather was very positive about her drawing skills, but her family is super negative. Her immediate family is super negative about becoming a mangaka, which is a thing that she wants to do. And she believes that she has never drawn a manga better than that manga that she drew first. So she is attempting to recover a manga that she drew from when she was a child that has been lost because her father threw it away. And so she helps with the exploring of the tunnel and running of the experiments to figure out how to make this work so that they can both get what they want from it. The story eventually proceeds to the point where the girl realizes that with some talent and some effort, the world right now has what she's looking for. She has the talent. She can make manga that's readable, enjoyable, sellable, whatever. And at the crucial moment when it comes time to pull the trigger, things change. Yes, sorry, Chris. Carry on.
No. Like, cool. I mean, that's a good summary. It's a very simple story, right? So, if you go through this tunnel, you walk along it, you go into like a fey-like realm where time flows normally for you, but much faster outside. I can't remember what.
But also memories. Your memories flitter around you to a certain extent.
Yeah, things that were in the past become kind of tangible or come back to you, and you can kind of go into this dream world. And but the premise is basically like if you go in there for long enough, basically you're going to come out and everyone's going to be changed or gone or dead or whatever, right? That's the conclusion they come to quite quickly.
If you stay in the tunnel for too long, yeah.
So, like in the meantime, during the story, there's like a cute little love story between Anzu and Kaoru, and he's maybe a little bit more damaged than she is, even though he maybe has like a more stable life, seemingly, I would say, than she does.
His father beats him up randomly and gets drunk and fools around with women thing suggests his actual home life is
Not great.
terrible to the point where he hides from it.
I mean, they're both pretty messed up.
Mm.
But he's a little bit more messed up, is what I'm trying to get at.
Yes,
To
more
the
desperate
point-
at least.
To the point where he can't see any point in remaining where he is. Even for her sake, I suppose. Is that a fair assessment?
I think there's a pretty strong suggestion that he doesn't see worth in his existence at all
Right.
to a certain point.
Yeah. I mean, there's like a fun little love story that happens for like 30 minutes, and he's kind of like getting better throughout that time. That's the summer that they're going through, I guess. And then his father brings home a woman who he insists is his new mother, I guess. And like at that point, he kind of just goes dead in the eyes and retreats into like a weird depression state where he decides he's just gonna go into the dream world, I guess. And there's not really anything more to the story than that. It's almost like a weird impulsive decision for him, right? Because he experiences, I don't know what, like a day, half a day, of time during that point where he decides to leave into the dream world without her. The initial plan was for them to go together, right?
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't.
But she sent a message suggesting that she wasn't so sure that she wanted to discuss it before they try.
Yeah. So he just goes in by himself and, goes in deep, and he finds his little sister, and they like have like a little idyllic kind of brother-sister like home life thing going on there. And for her, 13 years in the real world pass.
Yeah.
And every day she sends a like text message to his little Nokia. It's a Nokia or no, it's a Motorola, right?
A Motorola, yeah.
And
But it should also be
somehow,
noted.
yeah.
Sorry, it should also be noted that she's continuing on with her life. She has become a mangaka. She's published a few things. She's got a job. She's becoming an adult on screen.
But
as
also
we're
kind of
watching.
like a really kind of pathetic way, where it's very obvious that she's incredibly miserable throughout most of the process. I mean, she's very much clinging to that umbrella.
This memory of summer.
Right, the umbrella like that he gave her in the beginning of the movie. And like, I suppose the miracle of the story is, even though the tunnel has no reception in it, the messages eventually get through. And I suppose at some point he has a realization that he's screwed up, and then he tries to get out of the tunnel.
It's only like an 8-year mistake, right? Or something like that.
13 years.
13-year mistake.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I mean, at some point, the realization that he is 16 and she's like 31 or something, could be construed as quite creepy towards the end of the movie. But I don't know how I feel about that. I think
we like the relationship was created when they were of the same age and in the same dynamic. So I don't find
it's
it
not like
creepy.
in like a pedophile way, right? Although it is kind of for her. She's like a fully grown woman.
It starts to go there, but I do think our boy is nearly like, I think he's either 18 or nearly 18. They're ready to graduate. They're about to end high school.
Yeah, they could be 18. You're right. I think they might have actually just written their exams or something. That might be.
Yeah, that's the thing. He was ready to graduate, so I think that's like roughly 18 on average.
Okay.
So 18, she ends up 31.
Look,
and he comes out.
There have been larger age gaps in couples, I suppose. But
also, she could just take a dip in the tunnel for 30 minutes.
Make him wait 13 years.
Yeah, sounds fair to me.
You're right. It is fair. It's a real shitty thing he did, though. You know.
Yes. Well, I mean, I think that's part of the point of the movie, where people aren't trying to hurt the people they love, but they are so convinced that what they want is out there rather than in front of them, that they're willing to do crazy shit that hurts people around them.
Sure. I mean, I had a really good time with the movie. It was like mostly quite enjoyable. There was a little bit of anxiety towards the end as I realized like this was going to happen, that one of them was just going to take a dip and maybe not come back. I actually thought it was going to go in the direction of Voices from a Distant Star, where like the one person was going to die of old age, basically, while the other person was still.
I actually thought he was going to come out when she was like a granny on her deathbed kind of thing.
Yeah, I had that impression for a little while as well. But I think it wanted to be a little bit more like positive than that.
Yeah, so we can make mistakes, but we can also recover from them.
Yeah, exactly. The imagery in this is lovely. The
camera work, if you want to call it shot composition, is very well done. It actually builds tension in you while everything's looking beautiful. The feeling that someone's gonna fuck up and like ruin their life is through a lot of this movie.
Try to form words. It forms them into like kind of realistic people as well. They're not the anime characters from an anime series. They're just two kind of mostly real human beings. I mean, she's very angry, essentially, because, you know, all her relatives have up and died and kind of abandoned her. So she just kind of wants to be alone and maybe not exist, really. And he says, she says, I have no family in the beginning when they meet at the bus stop, right? Or the train stop. Train station. And he's like, oh, that's nice. That must be nice. And then we get introduced to his crappy dad.
Abusive drunk father.
Yeah. I mean, he would legitimately be better off if it was just himself.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with that. I've been there, but he, I don't know. One feels. I mean, when you're a kid like that, you don't really have any options.
No, you don't.
But you know,
you also
no, you don't have a perspective. But literally, he could have been out the house in like a month, right?
To a certain extent, yes, but also like it was the guillotine day was coming for him. The new mother thing, and then if she turns out to be abusive like his father, and then...
I'm just saying, like he had a girlfriend, she had her own place. He would have been 18.
Yeah,
like things were not looking bad for him. It's.
But I mean, this is the thing with early developmental trauma. And like suffering it, right? You can not be stuck in a physical or situational sense, but you are definitely stuck in a psychological sense.
and emotional.
You know,
But
he
also,
was
Chris,
still stuck over his sister's death, let alone
Mm.
all the trappings of the family surrounding that and how they treated him thereafter.
but
So
also he
still
blamed
had all
himself.
the guilt. Yeah, 100%. He had the guilt, and he had the attachment severing of that going on that he was still stuck with, and the emotional stunting that produced as well.
Why?
He
What?
blamed himself, and the father didn't help with that at all.
No,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sure. The only complaint I have is he was clearly the one that needed the time to work on himself. I would have swapped the roles, right? So she
Yes,
was kind
that
of
would have
okay,
been better.
right? Before you stepped into that tunnel, he was not. And in terms of this, maybe like I don't know how long passed, maybe like a day or 6 hours, something like that, in that tunnel. And so he's essentially the same damaged person when he comes out. He just had like a
I think the day
brief
he spent with his
realization.
sister.
Maybe that helped, but yeah, it's kind of like witnessing a miracle.
I think he forgave himself. I think that's why he walked out of the tunnel.
It's been 6 hours, dude. It's
It
enough
doesn't
time to
take
do
a
work on
long
yourself.
time. It doesn't take a long time to let go of something. Once you let it go, it's done. I think
I'm
the
glad
tunnel
that
kind of
works
forced
that way
him.
with you, but I don't think
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
normal.
I don't know. I think he just needed to forgive himself, and he had no room to do that in the real world.
So yes, letting go doesn't take necessarily very long. Changing does, and changing
Oh,
a
certainly,
perspective. Changing a
he needs to
perspective
change.
takes a hell of a long time, and
I do
that's going to
agree.
stay the same. So it's not stay the same, but it's gonna. He is that same person in that respect, and that's where the trouble is.
The underlying cause of his belief of his worthlessness was alleviated.
But
He
hey,
can then
guys,
begin to heal.
you know, there's a magic tunnel. This can be a fantasy where he's, you know, there's been this one sort of epiphany moment, and he's a completely different character. It's a
I don't
fantasy.
think
It can
he's a
happen.
completely different character, but I think the underlying cause of his flaw was alleviated, so he can begin to heal. Does that make sense?
I think
Maybe
what
his
you
dad is dead at
maybe
this point.
maybe
so
what we're
you're
saying
probably
is that
right.
he gained closure. Maybe that's what he gained from that tunnel was closure. But
Sure.
you know, what I'm saying is it's fantasy to pretend that that's the only issue that he has.
The only issue.
And
Fair
at the
enough.
end of this movie, we kind of get like a Disney ending where it's they lived happily ever after. But what we sort of have is now a very damaged 30-year-old lady who's kind of just been cloistered by herself drawing manga for 13 years, kind of hoping beyond hope that like a miracle will happen, and it kind of did. And
I mean, in my mind,
immature
in
guy?
a couple of years, he
Yeah.
poisons both of them
right.
so that they can be together forever in that like weird, creepy way. That's how that ends in my mind.
Given the you know, like the gender aging kind of thing, I guess women do live longer than men, so maybe they've got like a good balance there.
Yeah.
They'll die at roughly the same time.
and look, she suffered in the beginning, but now she's got someone to look after her when she gets to the point where she needs looking after.
Right?
Yeah.
And we have seen that he heals her heart.
She's got a nice toy boy to work with. Like he'll be like 35.
I don't know.
Oh my
She's
word,
going
the
to
amount of
menopause.
MILF fan fiction that could come out of this. Gosh.
I
There's
do
real
think
potential here, guys.
this wrapped up really well in that there were two damaged people at the start of it, and then there were two people that, while still damaged, sort of healed each other at the end of it.
Yeah, I don't like calling people damaged per se, but like, you know, having issues that are either attended to or not attended to is definitely a thing. Hopefully, you know what, they didn't depict her going to therapy, but hopefully that was a thing, because in this fantasy universe they've got good mental health care.
This was early 2000s Japan. I don't think.
Yeah,
people...
and fantasy
Fantasy
Japan. That's what
Japan,
I'm saying.
right.
Yeah, that's why.
I'm sure she drank herself better, Dylan.
I'm sorry. This is why I can't really take this seriously.
No, nothing makes a lot of sense throughout this. It's just very
But,
pretty.
like, the
pretty
background
and
messaging
positive and that sort of thing.
is well portrayed. I think the idea of the movie was that you have to be happy with what's in front of you, not what you think you could have had
and
or
then
what you used to have.
and then throw
Yeah,
that
yeah.
away, right? That's kind
Well,
of the message.
no, that's literally the message, though. The guy failed at it, and she passed, and then he learnt it.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And instead of talking about things like adults and, you know,
Yeah,
deciding what
right.
everyone wants and allowing everyone to have agency, we can just, you know, go make decisions
Arbitrarily
that
decide
affect
and
everyone.
ruin
Yeah.
our lives almost, kind of.
Yeah.
Maybe
And
get
then it's
snatched
all
away by a
forgiven.
weird
And then
fey
it's all
creature
forgiven at
from
the
another
end,
universe.
which is like no, guys. The thing that's really confusing me is why Yesh doesn't hate this and wanted to burn because there was no comeuppance for the guy in the end
Right.
for doing
Yes,
a
there
really,
was.
really bad thing.
He got
That's
to
the thing.
meet his sister. She was incredible, and then he had to let her go. That's fantastic. Kick in the nuts.
Yesh, America has changed you.
He's so positive.
think-
It's so annoying.
He is so positive. He's taking the best messages from this
Imagine if
film.
he had gone
And
to the
I
UK.
feel hard done by,
God,
guys.
the gloominess would be experiencing. He made the right
Our
choice.
MC
Yash.
fucked up, but learned his lesson and recovered. I think that's good.
Yeah, we're just having fun with you.
I
Yesh,
know,
that's
I
it.
know. But yeah, no, I think our guy got punished. He missed out on a lot of his life. Everyone he knows is now 13 years older. His father's disowned him, probably. Everything that he had as an opportunity is
Oh,
gone.
he wasn't getting anything from his
Counterpoint,
dad.
though. Counterpoint. He missed his abusive father. He got to play like the ultimate hooky for school.
Yeah.
He got out of that. He's got a sweet like sugar mama to look after him and MILF. And he's still like the age, basically the age that he walked in on. He didn't get any comeuppance.
No,
He's
exactly.
all got a gold,
didn't
man.
she at some point say she wanted him to help her draw the manga, right? I think she
Yeah.
said, like, would you
Well-
help me do this?
Yeah. I'm not sure.
And he was like, oh my god, I don't want to work. I'm just I'm gonna go away.
Can you imagine she's like, look, could you help me clean the house? And then he just goes in for like 30 seconds and comes out. Oh, sorry, time got away from me.
Oh my god. They better move far away from the tunnel.
Yeah, they really should move far away from the tunnel. Wear one of those prison bracelets so when they get close to it, it beeps for the other person.
Alert.
Sorry.
Karo is approaching destination.
Someone about to fuck up?
Oh god.
Gosh. Anyway.
Yeah, no. Excuse me. I agree with you, Dylan. I don't think he got any comeuppance.
Yeah.
I mean, he's literally
I'll
away from his father now in time, and probably the
Yeah.
best.
And
things
once
he's
again,
did.
from everyone he ever knew. For 13 years, he vanished, and now he can't really communicate with them.
He didn't have any close relationships. What does that matter?
Except for
to him?
her.
Except for her.
And she's
still there.
now like
Yeah.
sort of really dangerously codependent on him.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so guys, my favorite scenes were the aquarium
Oh, that
and
was
the
lovely.
train station and the Bunsen
aquarium was
scenes.
great.
You know,
That-
those were really well done
You know
scenes.
that thing where you put your head up through that weird glass bubble thing?
Yeah.
Mhm.
That freaks me out. I'm just like, just thinking,
Fair enough.
did the work guy that installed this like do a good enough job? Is 400 tons of water just gonna squash me like a melon? Those are the thoughts I have
Maybe.
when I see that sort of thing. But
Did
it
you
was
guys
a lovely
notice-
aquarium scene.
Did you notice at the end when they didn't kiss, but they kind of like looked at each other when
They
they
did
like
kiss.
made their deal with the tunnel? Did you notice in the background they had the two sharks?
Oh
the,
right,
the
that
outline of the two sharks sort of face off.
the manta rays, yeah.
No.
swimming.
This is just before they switched to the manta rays, the actual sharks.
Oh okay.
And
No,
they're
I
like
didn't notice.
come meeting face to face, like in the background of them. And I thought it was great because their reasons for, at that time, their reasons for doing what they wanted to do were kind of devoid of emotion.
Mm.
And so there's a lot of symbolism that I appreciated. I'm looking for good things in this movie. There are a lot of
She's a
symbolism
great
that I
tsundere.
appreciated.
I mean, like archetypically,
Yes.
basically.
Yeah.
I don't really
Cheers.
like you,
Well,
but I'm
mean-
gonna invite
mean
you
right
on,
hook.
on an aquarium date.
She
Yeah.
had good reason to push people away as well, though.
No, she didn't.
Yeah, no, sure.
Not really.
And punch people in the face. That was great.
Sure.
You don't often see that in manga. I mean anime.
Yeah, no, that I love that scene. That was great.
Yeah.
That
yeah.
that really
There we
like
go. Top 3.
put her in my like like root for category.
Yeah,
Punching
yeah.
Mean Girl in
Top-
face. Drawing bloody.
Punching
was
Mean
just
Girl in
great.
face.
Yeah.
Train station scene for the romanticness, and then the aquarium scene for the imagery. Those were the three best scenes.
I mean, the tunnel looked very otherworldly as well.
Yeah.
Dylan,
just- it
I wanted to
didn't
ask
appeal to
you,
me.
did you realize that the train station scene was meant to display her waiting in place? Like that she hasn't moved on?
Yeah, and yeah, kinda, but like they don't really do a good job with that sort of metaphor in terms of him being transient, right? Because he's there with her,
Mm-hmm.
and then kind of meets her and talks to her.
Well, he comes by and makes her move on. She's always
Yeah.
stuck, and he helps her move on.
I mean, in the first scene, that I think he disappears, like right at the end. I might be wrong. I might be remembering it wrong, but I think she like looks back and then he's not there.
Mm.
And I think that's that's the foreboding
Foreshadow.
aspect of it. But it's not like really that's not smart necessarily. It's just whatever it is.
It doesn't have to be smart. It just has
No,
to be
sure.
called back, I feel. And they call it back whenever she stops moving forward, she ends up at that fucking train station waiting for a deer to get run
Yeah.
over.
Look, I just don't, personally, I'm not saying like this isn't criticism of the anime in any way. But personally, I don't like narratives that you require someone in order to not be stationary in life.
Oh, okay. Right.
But that's
No,
just me.
I mean,
That can be considered an unhealthy message, fine. But I
but I mean, the
thought it was
imagery
No,
was.
no,
You're right, Yesh. That was like very
Yeah.
interesting. I didn't really put two and two together. I guess at that point, I thought she was sad because it reminded her of him when she was there.
They handled the emotional callbacks really well as well.
Mm.
The conversations, the umbrella, all of that was very nicely done. But the station was literally a message for how she is always stuck, always stationary, waiting for something. And he comes and makes her move forward. Twice. The time she stays there is the period when he's gone. She just stays at that station for a long time.
It's also where she gets her like biggest breaks, sort of, so to speak. Like there's just 3 lucky points that happen there for her as well. So it's like sad, happy place, I guess. I mean, she'd be really.
It does
conflicted.
emotions well, in my
sad
opinion.
fortuitous. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she meets him there. They like start their relationship there, and then when that kind of like quote unquote like miracle transmission sort of thing occurs, that's also there. I can't remember the last scene. Maybe they go back there. Who knows? But yeah, I am not unhappy that I watched it. Did have to buy it on Amazon to watch it.
I'm sorry.
It was only $4. But yeah. I mean, pretty good. What are you going to give it as a rating, Ish?
For me, this was an 8.5 out of 10. I consider it enjoyable. I enjoyed the beginning, the middle, and the end. I enjoyed the message. I enjoyed the art. I enjoyed the music. I enjoyed the characters. I'm always a fan of a well-charactered show, and there's lots of characters, even if I hate half of them. I think it was a good time. I don't think it's incredible, but I do think it's something I would suggest other people watch. It's a very popcorn movie, if that makes sense.
A very probably interesting date night movie. You might end up watching it though, so that could be a problem.
And you, Chris?
Yes, 7-ish. 7 out of 10. Let's go with that. I think there wasn't actually very much plot in the movie. I think quite a lot of it revolves around 2 or 3 emotional like fulcrums. And I wish there was more weird supernatural stuff. I felt a little
Also
bit
true,
let
actually.
down by that.
Suzume did a better job of the
Or-
supernatural thing.
Or what I thought would have been cool is if like there was like a way to just, if there would have actually been a proper time travel plot. Maybe the tunnel goes 2 ways, you know? And
Oh,
like,
so you can get back kind of thing.
yeah, I mean, it might have been a cooler story if he was like out there kind of, excuse me, dodging himself, waiting for like the right moments to pick back up into the world and that sort of thing. But that would be a completely different tone, I guess. 7 out of 10. Dylan?
I mean, I didn't hate it. I just don't feel for it in any way whatsoever.
That feels like a 5.
So, but I'm glad that it was short. If it were longer, I would dislike it intensely. Like if it were a 2-hour film doing this, I would actually be quite resentful of the production of it. I don't think it's bad in any way though. Like I don't think they did anything poorly. So I like that, be very like it's quite a line to toe. It just didn't interest me at all.
You know, in the beginning there was a scene where like the father's like trying to strangle him while he's drunk. And I thought that's what the movie was going to be. And I was not down with that. But thankfully it transitions very quickly away from that.
They did a good job of like portraying
to show you what you're dealing with, but not enough that you actually think about it too much, I guess.
Yeah, I think they did a good job of portraying the sort of the conditions he was in, and letting you understand why he is the way that he is.
That'll do it though. Comes the summer. Watch it if you want to. Visually outstanding. It's probably like someone who watched this as their first anime movie, and they're going to be speaking about this for like the next 15 years to any of their friends who will listen.
It's tough for me to think of like what kind of person to recommend it to. So I'm going to leave that to like the way that you guys have described it. If that's something that interests you, then watch it that way.
Yeah.
For those reasons. Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. This has been The Japanese Thing. Ciao for now.
Bye.
Ciao.